he is also so sensitive about criticism, or at least slightly piercing or testing questions from journalists towards MBS in the Oval Office now, being much more defensive of him than he has been perhaps when previous world leaders have been visited and challenged by reporters in the Oval Office.
Here on Pinar and Friends, we got Josh Glancy, we got Kissy Donaldson from the iPaper, and we're going to be talking in a minute about what's been going on in the White House, the meeting between President Trump and Prince Mohammed bin Salman, which is it is an intriguing meeting in so many ways, isn't it, guys? I mean, bin Salman, an important player, so important over so many years to the players of the world, and always a delicate relationship. The massive financial power as an investor of Saudi Arabia, with its wealth, its sovereign wealth, with its key position in the Middle East, a strategic position in the Middle East, a contact in so many ways, an ally in so many ways. And we're going to be talking about I mentioned this a moment ago, we're going to be talking about the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, which he was deemed by American intelligence to have been murdered at the behest of this man, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And you'll hear President Trump's remarkable thoughts on that in just a moment. But before we come to that, Josh, I mean, this relationship, it seems that business is maybe even as high or higher on the agenda here today than the Middle East, than Gaza, and so on. Multi-billion-dollar deals being done hand over fist.
I think that's right. I think it's a way station on what has been quite a long journey for Trump and American foreign policy. He's always been fascinated by Saudi Arabia. You might remember very early in his first term, he went to Riyadh and there was a famous orb, and he put his hands around the orb and it all got a bit sort of strange and Lord of the Ringsy. But he likes the Saudis because they like the glitz, they like the glamour, and they're about business. Mohammed bin Salman is not about morality. He's not about liberal mores. He's about, let's get down to business, let's make some money, let's be prosperous and work together. He's got an agenda, bin Salman. He wants an American security guarantee. He wants to kind of make a more concrete relationship with America. And so the question is, does Trump want to go there too? So there's a lot at stake here. What they're not really talking about, I mean, I'm sure it's come up, is Gaza and the war in the Middle East, and Iran. I mean, these are all contextual, they're all there, but this really is about how close are America and Saudi going to get, because they're not allies per se. MBS, they're still close to China and India. They're playing off different sides of the world stage. So this is about how close to Saudi and the US want to get, and how close to Trump and MBS personally want to get, because it really at that level is so much about the personalities and how closely they can mesh together.
Well, I mean, in terms of business done and the diplomatic relationship, Trump wants to get pretty close, doesn't he? He sees Saudi as, in some ways, a big missing piece of the jigsaw when it comes to a new accord in the Middle East, the Abraham Accords, which started coming into place in his first term, and then that was blown apart by the awful atrocity of January the 6th. And Trump wants to see that done. Another feather in his cap, another argument for that peace prize.
Yes, I mean, Saudi is the linchpin of the Abraham. It's the sort of Moby Dick of the Abraham Accords, if you like. I mean, if you go back, there was a fascinating speech that Trump gave in May in Saudi Arabia, where he basically said to the Saudis, look, we've preached at you for too long. We've told you for too long how you should think. You should be like us. He said, you should be like you. Your triumph is an Arabian triumph, is what he said. And I think that very kind of amoral shrug that he's just responded to about the murder of Khashoggi, it very much fits in that mould. Trump doesn't see this as a game of values or morals or principle. It's a game of transactions.
Right, let's bring in now Lara Spirit, our colleague in Washington, the Washington Correspondent for the Times. Hi to you, Lara. Welcome back.
Hi, John.
Hi. So it was quite an event, and not just because of the pomp and ceremony. I mean, it was quite a greeting for the visiting Crown Prince, wasn't it? With a flyover by jets. There were parades of military trumpets and flags. He was rolling out the red carpet in a big way.
I mean, yeah, as Josh says, there is a number of reasons why Trump is very, very keen to give the Crown Prince a warm welcome in Washington, a welcome that is very, very rarely doled out to any other international leaders, and why he is also so sensitive about criticism, or at least slightly piercing or testing questions from journalists towards MBS in the Oval Office now, being much more defensive of him than he has been perhaps when previous world leaders have been visited and challenged by reporters in the Oval Office. So, very fascinating to watch.
Yeah, and we sort of saw that, didn't we? And when it came to a question, one imagines the president would rather not have had to field at that news conference with the Crown Prince and himself sitting there, by that golden fireplace. It came when a reporter from ABC put forward this question.
Mr. President, is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news. ABC fake news. One of the worst in the business. But I'll answer your question.
Thank you.
I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot.
Well, you've got a very clear sense then of the president's appreciation or complete lack of appreciation for that question. And Donald Trump went on.
As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it. And we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
My goodness me. And the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, he had this to say.
I feel painful about, the families of 9/11 in America. But, we have to focus on reality. Reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation, to destroy the American-Saudi relation. That's the purpose of 9/11. So whoever buying that means they are helping Osama bin Laden's purpose of destroying this relation. He knows that strong relation between America and Saudi Arabia, it's bad for extremism, it's bad for terrorism. And we have to approve him wrong and to build our relation, to continue developing our relation. It's critical in the safety of the world. It's critical against extremism and terrorism.
Well, that was Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Lara Spirit, Washington Correspondent, listening to that playback of that moment. Lara, what on earth can one say about that? The American intelligence report from back in 2021 was as clear as it could be, that ultimate responsibility in the judgment of those agencies lay with Prince Mohammed bin Salman as a man ultimately responsible, as a man whose support for using violence to silence dissidents abroad, including Khashoggi, was well known. And there's the President Trump, now arguing that he was widely disliked. Not many people liked him, and things happen. It's quite a moment, Lara.
Yeah, and that he's a controversial figure. It's a really big moment. And as you say, you have that CIA intelligence from 2018 concluding that MBS personally ordered the killing of Khashoggi. That's clearly something that MBS rejects and denies, although he has previously apologized and says insofar as he is the de facto leader of the country that he takes a form of responsibility, but definitely denies any prior knowledge of that whatsoever. So clearly there's a disparity between CIA intelligence and that position. I think the response of Trump is obviously fascinating, given that he, as you say, mentioned that Khashoggi was a controversial figure. There was, as we should remember, in 2018, a period, albeit not necessarily a long one, of profound diplomatic isolation for the Saudis following that brutal murder and the dismemberment of Khashoggi in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. That was a massively significant moment. We should also say that it wasn't just Trump who has, opened his arms back back to figures like MBS. I mean, Joe Biden memorably fist punched him when he arrived in, I think it was 2022. So multiple countries and leaders, and indeed a predecessor of Trump's, has determined that this is a relationship that is too key to allow to be destroyed by this particular event. Nonetheless, those words really striking there on that murder. Also, I think the outburst really from Trump against ABC was fascinating. It wasn't just on these questions as well. It was also, there was a question on the Epstein files and the fact that we're going to be having a vote this afternoon imminently in the House that's expected to overwhelmingly pass to release the Epstein files. Trump obviously making a last-minute reversal in his position and saying that he now supports the release of the files, but again was asked a question that is on the lips of many people at the moment, which is, if Trump is in support of releasing the files, why then does this measure have to go through not just the House but also the Senate and land on his desk before final signature for those to be released? Why can't they, for example, just be released imminently? Trump saying, in response to that, the journalist was a terrible person, also commenting that that journalist, that she had made insubordinate questions of MBS as well. So and suggested stripping it or looking into stripping it of its license. So definitely one of the more interesting conflicts, you would say, between a journalist and the president in the White House in recent memory.
Yeah, Kitty Donaldson's here.
Yes, absolutely. And I think there's always a tell, isn't there, when Trump feels under pressure. He was asked about the Epstein files, I think, yesterday by a Bloomberg reporter, and he called her piggy as an insult. And he insulted the ABC reporter as well when she asked him about MBS in the room. Laura's absolutely right. Like, they could have... Trump is quite late to this party, isn't he? Like, all the pressure was there. The defection of his ally, Marjorie Taylor Greene, to say, actually, you should release these files, seems to have been the sort of tipping point at which he realised the sort of game was up with his MAGA base and couldn't sort of stand back or resist anymore. But Laura's absolutely right. He could have just released these files and had done with it.
Okay, well, so many interesting things, as you tend to find in any 5 given minutes with President Trump, or any 10 minutes with Lara Spirit. Great to have you with us, Lara. Thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.